Hey guys, Marmalade here. I'm sure you're surprised to see me start this video like this, but there's a reason for it. As I got closer and closer to my final day on the PCT, especially after thinking about it and doing it for 5 years and internalizing it, I started thinking about some things I wanted to say on my last day. I've been asked a lot to talk about things like why I initially started the channel and maybe how it's evolved and changed compared to why and how I started it. I also thought it'd be nice to talk about, I've been asked a lot lately about how this experience has possibly changed me, what I've learned from it, have I grown, and things like that. And then lastly, there's a couple things I want to end this with. So what's funny is I romanticized about my final day on trail, whatever day that was going to be, which it ends up being today. And the weather gods didn't play nice. You will eventually see, but I had a very rough night the night before this day, my last day. I kind of haphazardly put my tent up. I knew it was going to rain. We didn't know it'd be so much rain. It was like a ½ inch to an inch of rain. And I kind of threw my tent up there. We all did. I just got probably the least lucky. And it started pouring about 7:30. It gets dark about 7:30 or 8, so I could still see. It started pouring, and my tent was perfect on top. I have no leaks in my tent from the top. So I kind of confidently started going to sleep, and my head was a little higher than where my feet were when I set up my tent. But it didn't look like much of a depression. Well, what happened was I woke up in the middle of the night, probably about 9 or 10, to 4 inches of water in the bottom of my tent. So my air mattress was literally floating. It was freezing cold, super windy, and just pouring. And it rained from 7:30 all the way to midnight, very, very hard. And then after that, sprinkled. So I had all these grand plans of kind of what I wanted to say to make this an amazing last day and a last video. And the weather gods, like I said, didn't permit. So as you will see, we have 30 miles to go to finish at Stevens Pass, and normally when the weather's good, we probably would have in 20-25 camped and then just gone in the next day, but the weather was so bad and all of our tents were literally soaked like they were at the bottom of the ocean. All my clothes were soaked. We started hiking at 5 in the morning this morning, and it was dark for the first hour and 15 minutes. It was super windy. It rained on us we hiked. It took us about 12 and a half hours. We actually hiked very fast, considering we had 6 very big steep climbs in the middle of it. But as you will see, I tried to film some to show you a little bit about the hike, but it was such an ugly day. It wasn't going to be about, even if it was a pretty day, it wasn't going to be as much about the trail as my experience. And so this video will be long, but it's kind of closing out an amazing adventure. And as I was starting to say, it rained for 8 hours straight on us. And then when it stopped raining, the last 4 hours, it was windy the whole time and cold, and we were soaked through and through. So we decided just to go for it and get out of that weather. So there's no way I wanted to set up with a soaking wet quilt, and all my clothes were wet, and my tent was soaked, and everything was soaked, my air mattress. So there's no way I wanted to risk getting hypothermia. So we just went for it. But what's funny is it rained for the first 8 hours, and when it finally stopped raining, it still was cold and windy. Well, it was so windy, it was knocking all the water off the trees, and we were in dense trees for most of it. So it was like it was raining because all the water was coming off the trees anyway. So you know, ideally it would have been perfect to maybe, or not perfect, but it'd been nice to finish on a nice sunny warm day. But what's great about this is I've had more time to reflect now. I've been home for about 3 weeks. And so I'm going to do those 3 sections just like if I was on trail, but I'm going to interject them in this video. And it's giving me more time to reflect actually and think. I've written some notes. It's all from the heart, but I've written some notes so I can stay on task and also make sure I don't miss anything. So.
The skies opened up. We were already in our tents and everything, which was sweet. But Marmalade there.
Yeah, I got the worst of it.
Yeah.
So, as I said, there's 3 parts to this, I feel. The first one is, I've been asked a lot, you know, why I started the channel and how it's evolved. And I started it, my first backpacking trip was in 2016. I think I have some just day hiking videos I did that are really, really bad in 2015. But I just started it just because it was kind of fun to do it, and I'm technically inept, but you know, I was filming with my iPhone, and I wanted to learn. It kind of was fun to just film a little bit. I really hadn't watched too many people on YouTube. I thought, I'm going to try to do it, not to grow a channel, but just really just to do it for me. I have at the time I had a son that was just getting out of high school, and so it was kind of like something for me, but also just for him to have, and that's truly what it was. And for the longest time, I didn't really have any followers or subscribers. Then as time went on, I got into, I'm looking at my notes here, I started doing the San Diego 100 Peaks list, so it was a place to post those videos. I think I'm at 72 out of the 100 are done now. So, but how it evolved is, as I learned about making videos and learned about backpacking and camping and trying everything, every kind of piece of gear, and from day hiking to backpacking, and failing a lot. And so it became a place where I could share my passion for this, I don't know what you call it, a sport or a pastime, but show my passion and my knowledge and share it. And I don't claim to know everything. I just know what I know and what I feel, and that's why I started making videos on gear. And when you watch a video early on, when I'm just going out and doing a weekend hike, maybe a quick overnight trip, you're learning from me whether I'm making mistakes or I've learned something new. I'm learning as I'm filming it. So it's kind of like we're learning together, and we're all at different levels, right? I mean, I consider myself a very experienced backpacker now, but there's people that are way more experienced than me. So that's one of the things, is to share my passion and knowledge. The other thing is that it's evolved into inspiring others, especially older people. I just turned 61 when I finished the trail, about a few days before I finished. And started when I was 56. It took me 5 years, if you don't know, and I got hurt in my first year in 2019, or I hopefully would have finished it the first year. I feel like every year I've gone out, I've got more experience and I'm more prepared. So I felt more comfortable every year, But what's great is, hopefully, I've just heard from so many people, it's just evolved. It's not why I did the channel, but it's really a cool feature. In fact, that I've inspired others to get out there, whether it's just day hiking. I've been on the trail in San Diego doing that 100 Peaks list. One day I remember one, I don't remember their names. It was a long time ago, like 3 years ago, but I was on the back of my car putting my hiking shoes on. It happened to be one that wasn't too long, not too difficult, but a truck went by and they kind of skidded to a halt and they backed up, and I was just on some country road, and a nondescript trail, no signs or markers or anything. And he goes, "Are you Marmalade?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And it's one of the first times anybody's ever recognized me. And he just said that, and his wife was listening to the truck. He said, "Yeah, we're two old fat people starting to hike, but we're hiking because of you." And nobody had really said that to me before. And he said, "You doing Tooth Rock or whatever it's called? There's a rock up there that looks like a tooth." I said, "Yeah, I am." I said, "Oh, it's a good one. It's steep but not very long." I said, "Okay, great." And they said, "Yeah, we've done 15 so far, so we're starting and we're slowly getting in shape, but thank you so much." And so that's an example of how my channel has really helped and inspired others. So that's where my channel has really just evolved, from just being something that's for me and my son to inspiring others. Good morning, good morning. What's up, everybody? Day 171. Possibly my last day, where you have almost 30 miles to the end, but we had a rough night last night. As No Filter said, the skies opened up on us. It had to rain at least a half an inch, if not close to an inch, whatever. But I picked a bad spot. I was on a slope, so it would go away from me, but it turned out up by my head. It was not puddling, but by my feet, it was got to be 3 inches deep. So we just have a lot of ups and downs today, and we're going to try to make it to town. I don't think, well, we'll see what happens today. I don't know if I'm going to have enough anywhere to dry up. I can't really sleep in my tent. It's literally soaked in water and mud and pine needles, so we kind of have to go. So we're dedicated to try to make it all the way today. It might take the entire day, but that's what our plan is. But yeah, we'll try to film here and there. It's hard to pull the camera out. It just happened to stop raining for a second here, but isn't this pretty? Let me show it to you. Hey guys. Yeah, we're all waterlogged. All right, guys, this is part 2 of 3 of my final day on trail, and this to me is one of the top things that I was really interested in talking about. Too bad the weather was too bad this day to do it on trail. It would have been easier just to walk down the trail and talk, but I've had more time to contemplate now that I've been home for about 3 weeks, so this actually is a good thing. I wrote some notes that I'll kind of go over, but I'm going to speak from the heart. But part 2 is I've been asked a lot about, has the trail changed me? Have I grown? What have I gotten from it? What have I learned? Life lessons learned. And there is a thing out there, people have written books about how when you do a long trail, it could be the AT, the CDT, or the PCT, that there could be a depression for some people because there's no way in life to recreate a through hike. It's difficult, and as much as a lot of it sucks, there's so many great points to it and things that are happening internally to you and for you that you're not aware of. And that's why when you get home, it's confusing because nothing is like the trail when you get home. And so I wanted to talk about how it's maybe affected me and changed me. We all have strengths and weaknesses in everything we do in life, whether you're athletic or not, or like I'm not musical at all. Some people are really gifted there. And so we all have strengths. And I could say that I really had to work at hiking. I don't think I'm naturally a strong hiker I didn't start out very good, but I really loved all the byproducts and the benefits I got from it. On that note, one of the things I learned is human beings are amazing creatures, and we are capable of so much more than we think we are, or even really attempt. Not many people ever maximize their abilities or push their limits. And this is easily the most physically demanding and mentally and emotionally demanding thing I've ever attempted. It's weird, you can romanticize about the trail, and I did section hike Section A where I live in San Diego over and over again. I probably completed it 8 to 10 times in sections the time I started the trail in 2019, but I had no idea how far I was hiking, and I had no idea that it was going to be that far. And when if you go northbound, halfway through the trail is 1,325 miles, and it takes you around 1,700 miles just to get through California alone, and you don't realize just how far that is. It takes a lot of people, the average hiker, like 3 months just to get through California. So, yeah, you kind of don't know what you're signing up for until you start doing it. But and then mine was spread out over 5 years, so it made it even longer. But yeah, I think you don't know what you're capable of until you kind of get yourself in one of these long hikes and actually experience yourself. As I was saying, I haven't really hiked that long compared to most people who've done this for a long time, but I have had a very fast learning curve. I started day hiking in 2015, and the first day of January started backpacking. And so when I started my through hike, in 2019, I had only been backpacking 16, 17, so like 2.5 years maybe. I now have about 8 years of backpacking experience, but I think that I've done the math, and I think with all my section hikes, day hikes, through hikes, I did the long trail in Vermont and the Trans Catalina Trail, all that kind of stuff, all the weekend stuff, and my through hike of the PCT, I've done getting close to 10,000 miles. So my learning curve has been very fast for how short of a period I've been backpacking. One of my favorite things to do before I ever started the PCT, and still is shakedown hikes, going out and trying new things. One of the things I tried this last time was no cook. I think on some trips I might still do it, but I really miss cooking. There's a thing that I've seen on other people's videos where when they try to no cook and save a little weight and space in their backpack. My backpack was very light. My base weight was around 12 pounds this year. But you find that some of the food is not very appealing when you can't cook and have a nice warm meal, which I think most of us like. When you have a bar, the thing I liked the most this year was tortillas with salami and cheese, but after a while you get tired of the same thing. But yeah, when you don't cook, you start eating like nuts and dried things and bars, and it gets to be kind of old. And there's a thing saying that basically a lot of people don't get enough calories or eat enough because they're doing something like that. So that's one of the things I learned, is that I think I appreciate cooking. I think I'll bring it from now on. But it was a great experiment. It helped me go lighter and probably helped me in the long run get finished with these sections. Sorry, I have the sun. It's kind of cloudy and sunny. I've got the sun kind of right in my face, so sorry if I'm squinting. One of the very top thing, if not the top thing I learned about myself through all these years, 5 years, every year I've been trying to go back because 2020, I'll talk about that a little bit, but it was the COVID year. 2021, I was doing the Sierras and did about 2/3 of them, and then had to stop because the Dixie Fire closed all the national forests in California. So 2022, I went back in near Mammoth where I got out of the Sierra, finished that, was going to do 800, 900 miles up to Ashland, and I got the Sierra done, but then ahead of me, the McKinney fire started and closed down all 300 miles of the trail in front of me again. So I skipped up and did a little bit of Oregon, but I've had a hard time finishing because of the first year of the injury and then just natural disaster. So, but I will say, the reason I was telling you what's going on with these 5 years is that I found out that I'm way tougher, way more resilient, and probably stubborn too. But unfortunately, I have a high tolerance for pain, but I'm much tougher than I ever thought I was. And I think all of us are. I think that, how do you know if you're tough until you're put in that situation, whether it's hiking, it could be anything, right? But it shows you a lot about yourself. It's, as I said, it's the most physically demanding thing you'll ever do that I know of, is a long distance hike like this. But it's more mentally and emotionally because once you get your trail legs, you hike into shape, as we call it. Like for me this year, I was a little bit overweight, but also I just didn't get to hike much. And then I got thrown right into snow and difficult situations and terrain. And it took me a while to get my trail legs. But once I leaned down a little bit and started hiking, it all becomes mental and emotional. And that's where you really learn a lot about yourself. And I've said this again, I'll say this every time this kind of subject comes up, but there are no shortcuts to being mentally tough. I think that's my strength. You have a ton of days, tons of days that are either ugly or you're not feeling it or you slept poorly or it's super hot. I had 2 heat waves this year. There's snow, there's all that stuff that's happening. The conditions are bad. There's blowdowns, your knees hurting for some reason out of the blue. All that stuff that happens on trail. And what are you going to do? Are you going to just quit because it's tough, or are you going to keep going? I've had a zillion days where I wasn't feeling it. I've had days when I planned on doing, I have a certain amount of food to say I'm doing, 100 miles in 4 days, and I want to do 25 miles a day, just for an example. But I get to 19 miles, and I've had so many days where I was completely spent and had nothing more in me, and somehow I found 6 more miles to get to my goal. Whether it's resting for a while or getting some water or eating or just, just laying down and taking a nap, something. You have to be mentally tough, and that's where the people that finish are the mentally tough ones. There's people that are physical specimens that don't make it very far because they they've done this shortcut. They just plan to go on the PCT or the AT or the CDT, but they don't do any of the work involved. When you don't go practice and work out your gear and hike and go up on crummy days and when it's hot and when you're not feeling it, and you don't do all that it's almost like a research, really. If you don't do the research, you don't do the work, when you get on trail, you haven't built the mental toughness and the emotional toughness to make it through. Now, do people that just never do any of that get on trail and make it? Yes, but it's an extremely small percentage. So I feel like all the years of section hiking for 3 years and going out there and trying things, and I felt confident in my gear because, there's no right or wrong with gear and all that stuff and clothing, but I felt like when I started, I had my stuff dialed in, so there was a thing I didn't have to think about or worry, and I added and subtracted things, and over the 5 years it took me to do this trail, I've refined that and changed it too. So what you like this year could be different next year. The main thing I did was go lighter, and that helped me out a lot. But as I said, there's no shortcuts. If you guys want to do one of these trails, you have to put the time in. Sometimes you live a place where there's no elevation, so just hike as much as you can, or go to the gym and do the Stairmat, do something. But if you can just get out there and backpack and be out there when it's cold and hot and when you're not feeling it, you will be ready when you get on the PCT. The last thing I'll say about that, I kind of forgot to say this, was I've told this to a couple of friends and they kind of looked at me weird, but I've never, and even now that I've completed the PCT and I've had some success hiking and done some great things, I do not consider myself a very, how do you say it correctly, very strong hiker. When you're out, maybe you get skewed when you get on a long trail, but there's, also I turned 61 this year on trail with about less than a week to go. I am older and I started when I was 59, but I'm a pretty young 61 and been an athlete my whole life and all that, and I'm trying to refuse to get old, but it's coming quick, it seems like. But sometimes your view of whether you should be out there or that you belong or that you're a strong hiker, that you can do it, is swayed because you're looking at all these young kids that are just killing it. And some people, the PCT to me is a very difficult trail, a lot of it. And there's people that are young that just fly. It's not even hard for them, you know. There's hard parts, but overall it's not difficult for them. But you get in that thing where you start comparing yourself, you know. I've said it all along, I would say once I get in shape, I'm a medium to semi-medium fast hiker uphill, but I'm really fast down and flat hill. But I get lapped by people that are younger and they can go up hills like it's nothing. And even when I make it, it's still physically very demanding for me. I'm a bigger guy, I'm 6'3", and when I started this year I was 265. And the sport's hard for me. So what I'm saying to you is, am I able to do the trails? Am I able to complete them? Yes, but I think it's much more physically demanding on me than it is on a lot of the people I hike with. I'm convinced, I've hiked enough with friends and co-hikers that I think if you're smaller, more petite and slimmer, it's a much easier sport for you, as long as you get your pack lighter too, so you don't have a, you know, you want a certain percentage of your pack weight to your body weight. But I guess my last thing, what I'm trying to say is basically I don't consider myself a strong hiker, but I'm mentally strong, and I make myself do the miles. I mean, some days, you know, are very hard. Some days are easier and everybody cruises, but some days are hard, and there's some people that don't have a hard time with it, and it's a struggle for me, but I'm able to get through it, and that's all it takes on these hikes. You do not have to be fast. It is not a contest. That's the thing I've learned the most in, is like, even if you want to do, let's say you're older and you can only do 15 miles a day, you could still do any of these trails. You know, you start earlier and you're going to be on trail more days. And you know, the downfall is that, you know, like I can cover a 100-mile section. Let's say I do 4 25-mile days. I can cover a section in 4 days and only have to carry 4 days of weight of food, where you might have to carry 6. So there's benefits to going faster, but if you can only do 15, you can only do 15. You can still participate. You don't have to be fast. So I've had to get my ego in check and not worry about whether people are faster than me. I mean, I bet you on trail, if I just had to throw some number at it, probably 50 to 75% of the hikers are stronger and faster and younger than me, if not more. And it doesn't bother me anymore. Matter of fact, I have great respect for people who can do that. But I realized that I'm out there to enjoy the trail. It's not a contest. I always get my miles in. You guys know I do that. I think I averaged around 25 once I got in shape this year for 2 months. So I can do the miles. It takes me a little longer than some people, and some people can go a little further, but on this day that you're watching, we do 30 miles, so in the bad weather. So it shows you I can do it when I want to. Okay, what I think I've gained the most from all the backpacking and the PCT and all this is I think if you're smart, you know, I consider myself a work in progress. I have to not hit this microphone here. But I consider myself a work in progress. I've worked on a lot of things about my personality that I don't appreciate or others don't appreciate, and I still have a lot of work to do. But I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, I'm 61 or what, but I've become less, over the years, I'm less tolerant, I'm more easily annoyed, things that shouldn't frustrate me. You know, it could even just be I go to get something to drink and there's a big long line or whatever, you know, traffic frustrates me. Things like that. And so I'm also, used to be, I've already worked on this, but when I started the trail, I was very anal about having every single last thing planned perfectly. You know, like I would worry about, you know, at mile 380, how am I going to hitch? I'd never hitchhiked when I started the trail, but I'm like, how am I going to hitchhike? Or like when you go into Ridge Crest, which is when you get to Walker Pass, you're near the end of the desert, but it's like 25-mile hitch, and there's nobody out there. And I kept thinking, I'm starting the trail thinking I'm worrying about mile 650. It's like, well, why would I do that? And it always works out. So I try to use the trail to work on that. So I've worked on that. I trust the process. I do plan. Even if I just go for the weekend up to the Sierras, I plan things, but I don't worry about it. And if I just went on a trip and half the things that I planned didn't work out, and I went with the flow and it was fine, and I enjoyed it and I didn't get frustrated. So that part I've worked on. So that's something I learned early on my first and second year. But going back to getting easily frustrated, annoyed, and just less tolerant of things and people, I really focused on that this year. And I've noticed when you get in nature, and that's why a lot of people have a hard time when they get back to society, because you can't recreate the trail. So I've already noticed how much more calm and at peace I am. Traffic probably bothers me more than anything, and people have cut me off and taken my ride away, and you know, not signal, all that stuff that people do. It used to bother me, and I have to catch myself once in a while. I think I've honked twice since I've been back, but for the most part, I'm really actively being present and working on it. So when I start to feel that anxiety or just like frustration, I catch myself and I just go, it doesn't matter. Because in the end, if you guys are like, any of you are like that, in the end, and you can yell at somebody and honk at somebody, But in the end, it doesn't bother them. You're the only one that's letting it bother you. And most people are not doing anything to you or on purpose. And I had to realize that. It helps me at work when you're with somebody that frustrates you, or a customer that frustrates you, or employee that's difficult to work with, or even a manager that's picking on you, things like that. It's like I've just tried to use it to work on calming myself. And if you go on these trails and you don't learn something about yourself and improve yourself, then it's kind of like, except for the experience of hiking, why are you out there? That's kind of how I look at it. There's a corny saying that I used to hate, but it's that saying that we all know about. It's not what happens to you in life, it's how you deal with it. It's kind of corny, but it's super true. And the end of this is that I had to learn that change comes from within, right? If you go through life, and this is what I was doing, if I expect every single person out there to never cut me off, and there never to be a line, and never have something I'm working on, or something somebody mess up an order on Amazon, or all the stuff that happens in life, all that stuff. If I'm going to go through life and you get a flat tire, all that stuff. If I'm going to go through life, or any of us, and expect it never to happen, you will always, always, always be frustrated and be let down and disappointed. And I just had to realize that being upbeat and positive and happy helps change a lot of things around you, and it affects people around you. I've noticed already since I've been back how much I've affected people in a positive manner, being kind and nice. Not that I wasn't, but I just am so, even inner peace I have now. And so it's really helped me just be happier. And I just realized that change comes from within, and I can't expect, it is frustrating when stuff happens that you can't control, but you can't control it. So I've chosen to just really work on that myself. So that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned, is to what I just said, to just choose to be happy, not worry about what ifs and if this could happen and if a guy cuts me off, all that stuff. Just go through life and choose to be happy, and don't give up your power and your happiness to other people that don't really care about you. Just look at a little more of the trail, and then we're going to do my last part that's going to be a really important part to me of kind of why I did this hike and how it evolved into another thing that's really important to me, besides just wanting to be, from a selfish reason of wanting to finish the PCT. There was another big reason, but it didn't start out that way. But as the 5 years went by, and it took me 5 years to finish this trail, it evolved into that. But there's another big reason why I wanted to complete this trail. It'll surprise you, I think. That was a thigh buster. All right, you ready for this last push?
I think we are.
We're going that way. All right, guys, this is it. My last climb of the PCT. You can see the chairlift there, I think, somewhere. And we're heading up there. That is the last climb I will do to complete this PCT. I'll have about 2 miles downhill to the ski resort, and I will be finished. I'm literally 2.5, under 3 miles to be done. All right, let's do this. Hey guys, well, this is part 3 and the final part of my final day on the PCT. And there's one last thing I kind of wanted to talk about and expand on a little bit. And I intimated a little bit in my previous clip I did. Was there's essentially, when you are doing a thru hike of any type, it's kind of a singular, more selfish kind of endeavor. You are leaving behind possibly work, which I did. My first year I quit a job, gave my notice, but your loved ones, the people you care about, all your responsibilities, and it's mostly to go out there and do something that you personally want to do. And that's one of the things that actually makes the thru hike hard, is because of the things you leave behind, the things you care about. But I wanted to talk about when I started this trail, that was the reason. It was something I wanted to do. My son was 22, so he was grown, and I felt like it was a good time to start the trail in 2019. Also, I wasn't getting any younger. I was 56, and I just thought it was the time to go. For me personally, it was the time to go. As time and things change, and I didn't plan on getting hurt my first year and installing me. I didn't plan on COVID happening on year 2 and me actually getting disenchanted and quitting. Years 4 and 5, I didn't plan on getting on trail and fires and fire closures happening in front of me where I couldn't keep going. So, I didn't plan on all those things. So I didn't know this was going to take 5 years. And but as the years went by, it went from one reason why I was doing this hike, which is for me, to 2. And I think the person this is about is going to be very, very surprised. I have actually never, ever uttered one comment about this other thing and why I'm doing it. And I think it'll definitely surprise them. And if I've kept you in mystery long enough, who is this other person that I'm doing this trail for? Of course, my son, Cameron. So Cameron, this is going to be about you, but I'm hoping this will help other people that maybe you can relate to this. I want to talk a little bit about this, but how did this evolve? I mean, Cameron could care less about the sport. It's not his thing. He's not passionate about it, but he supported me the whole way. So thank you, Cameron. As crazy as he probably thought I was, especially going back every year and after getting hurt and stuff, he probably thought I was crazy. He also was worried for my safety, which really meant a lot to me, Cameron. I appreciate that. And what do I mean I'm doing this for you? Well, as parents, any of you that are parents, you know that when they're small, our job is to, teach them right from wrong. When they mess up, they get scolded or get time out or whatever the punishment is. They get praised when they do things great. But we're essentially shaping and molding these young men and women to become hopefully productive, good, solid human beings in society. And the problem with that is that when they get to teenagers, they basically check out and stop listening. And I know because I did the exact same thing. But all of a sudden, those things that we're teaching them, and they would listen and say yes and do what we say, all of a sudden they start arguing with you and don't always agree. They're becoming human beings, and they don't always see things the way you see it, and they don't like to be told what to do when they get to a certain age. So, to most teenagers, everything we're saying, whether it's teaching or reprimanding or doing something like that, is all it sounds like blah 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 to them. And so as these couple years of these 5 years have gone by, when I was hiking, I decided that he doesn't know it, but I'm telling him now that I'm doing this for you too, Cameron, not just for me. And why is that? Because, as I said, parents lecture and scold and do all these things, and teenagers, like I said, check out, but they're just words. They're just words to you. To when I was a kid, they were just words. They didn't mean much to me, but I wanted to show you by example and set example of that. If you want anything in your life, Cameron, and you want it bad enough, you can succeed and do it. You have to want it bad enough. And I wanted to show you that not everything goes as planned. Not everything goes on your timeline or my timeline when it came to this hike. I have to remember not to touch this. But we have to remember that, we may have a plan for our life or a plan for a goal or something we really want to be or do, but it might not go as planned. And that's one thing I learned, and I had to learn patience on this hike. I've had so much stuff thrown at me on this hike alone to keep making me, I probably should have stopped and just said, screw it, I'm not going to do it. But I kept at it and I finished it. And you'll see at the end of this video where I finished the trail. But hopefully by example, Cameron, you'll see that if you want it bad enough, you have to not let any no's, any delays, any unfortunate things that happen in the process when it doesn't go the way you thought it should go or you want it to go. You have to be persistent and consistent. Those are what the comments, those are the two phrases that I always said to myself and when I used to be in corporate sales, be persistent and consistent. And just, you have to go after what you want. I did it in my golf career too. So, as I'm saying, I'll reiterate it one more time, is that, as the years went by, the last couple of years, I decided that I'm doing this for you too. And I wanted to show you that something you want, you have to go for and not take no for an answer, even if it's hard and doesn't go as planned. Cameron, you are exceptionally talented at your passion and what it is you want to do. I know it's a private thing for now, so I'm not going to say it on here, but you are exceptionally talented. But you have to go after your dreams. They're your dreams, they're not my dreams. As a parent, I can tell you, you should go do this and you could do that. And I'm willing to help you however you want to get your dream fulfilled. But it's really your dream, and you should be going after it 1,000%. And right now, at your age and in your life, you shouldn't let anything distract you. You shouldn't do all the other stuff, some of the things you're doing and some of the extracurricular stuff you're doing distracts you from what your goal is. If it's your goal, go after it. You don't want regrets when you're older. I've said this before, but they've done a lot of surveys and polls and old folks on people that are close to death, and their biggest regret in life is regret, not going for the things they want to do. It doesn't matter if it's a trip to Europe or it's hiking a trail or it's learning to paint or play an instrument. They regret always have an excuse to not go after what they want. And when you see the people that we see that are famous athletes or actors, or it could be anything. I'm trying to think of what else it could be, but they're the people who refuse to take no for an answer. And that has to be you. You have to have blinders on, and you have to figure out 5 million ways to get to your goal. You try it this way, it doesn't work, don't let it get you down. It's disappointing, go this way. Do this, try everything you can, and also practice at your craft camera. And you should be practicing every second when you have free time. And maybe start eliminating some of the things that are distracting you, keeping you from being successful. And if it's not your passion and you just want it as a hobby, that's okay too. But I know how much you want this and you love this and you're passionate about your goal, that what it is you want to be. And so I hope at least a little bit my hike and finishing this, and as tough as it's been on me and the time it's taken and all that, that it shows you that you can reach any goal you want, no matter how difficult it is. There's some weird stat that says, I think it's catching up, but right now there's more people have summited Everest than have completed the whole PCT. Now, more and more people, now it's becoming trendy and popular to hike the PCT as well as the other long trails. So I'm sure at some point there'll be more finishers. But that's kind of neat, you know. I think I filed for my certificate with the PCTA to show that I've finished the trail, and I think I was like number 9,200. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't file for their permits, you know, I mean for their certificate, but I bet you I'm in the first 10 to 15,000 people that have finished the trail. That's a pretty neat feeling, you know. I know there's no way to measure that, but I just hope that this video makes sense and that you're understanding where I'm coming from. That if you want to, and this is good for any of you guys, whether it's somebody else watching that's older that doesn't think they can do the trail, you can do it in sections if you can't do the whole thing, or a lot of people can't do it because they're in the prime of their career, or they're raising a family. Well, go out and do two weeks, do a couple hundred miles every single year. It might take you 20 years, but you'll get it done. So there's no right or wrong way to do anything in life. It's just how badly you want it. Well, that's about it. That's about all I have to say. We're almost at the end of today's hike and the whole through hike. It's actually pretty crazy to think that I actually finished the trail halfway through this year with the almost 1,000 miles I had to do. I didn't think I was going to make it, especially with my slow start. But I hope you've enjoyed this series. It's been a passion of love and effort and energy to do it. There's many times I didn't want to do it, but I'm glad now that it's over with. I'm glad that I have these to look back at and hopefully motivate a lot of people in the future. Maybe write down in the comments, what are your goals, whether it's a trail or something else? What is it? Hopefully this has helped motivate you to do something you want to do, but what are your passions and dreams? And if it's a trail, which one? Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank people. I can't remember or name every single person, but you know, it starts down to, I'm sure nobody's watching, but all the hitchhiking I did, all the rides I got, people who did nice caring things for me on the trail, complete strangers, you know, buying me a drink or a food or things like that. I appreciate that. All the friends and family I had, like my ex-wife, Sherry, watching my car the last 4 years, 5 years, and Cameron supporting me and helping me and picking me up at the airport, things like that. All my trail angels that I've had, everybody, you know, from... I'm not going to remember everybody, I apologize, but Diamond Dave, you know, and Big Bear, and I had the other Dave up in Bremerton, and Mike last year, just all the people that have helped me over the years. It's been incredible. My friend Michelle, of course, this year, Larry, and there's so many more, and I apologize I've forgotten some people, but I didn't have this written down. I probably should have. But just all the people that helped me along the way, there's just no way you can do this without help, you know. And then this year, people wanted to help, and I suggested if you'd like to send me a resupply box, and that went really great. I think I had 8 resupplies out of the 12 locations I needed. It saved me, I figured mathematically, about $1,000. So that was huge, and you guys just did it without anything expected in return. It's hard in my videos and on trail to thank you enough, but I just truly thank everybody that's helped me in any possible way. And like I said, it's hard to believe this is about to end, so watch to the very end. I had a final thought that I thought about, and I thought about, I want to say one last thing when this thing ends. So after I get to the end, I have one kind of, it's a little corny, but it's very true, and I hope that it motivates you. But so watch to the very end. Thank you very much. And like I said, you know, let me know what are, I hope this has motivated you in some way. What are some of your passions and goals you want to do? Is it the PCT? Is it the Triple Crown? Is it another trail? Is it traveling, painting, doing a musical instrument, like learning one? Let me know what it is you love. Thank you so much again for watching all these. This is day 171, so it was 171 videos. And if you watched every one of them, let me know if you have. I find it hard to believe anybody would, but I think a couple of you have and have started with me along the journey 5 years ago. And if I ever do another longer trail, I'm not going to do one every day, that's for sure. I'm going to clump them together. But thanks again, everybody, for watching. Let's get to the end of the hike. That's my boy Joe, or No Filter. Hey, we have just a fraction under 1 mile to go. All downhill, all cruisy. See behind me, it's beautiful. Lush, I'll show up for you. There's Joe. Are you fired up, Joe?
Yeah, buddy. This is great.
Yeah, I think he's obviously stoked for me, but this was an exceptionally, tell you what, this is one of the toughest sections I've done. And we did it in 3 days, and we did it, oh, there we go. Didn't have the camera facing me. But we kind of did it backwards. We had good weather and didn't do that many miles, and then we had crappy weather. And we decided to get, well, it drove us to get out of this weather. It's supposed to go on.
The miles and the elevation.
Yeah. This day has been tough. I think it's somewhere around 29.5 miles for the day. It'll be my biggest one in the 2 months I've been on trail. And when I'm done, it'll be 963 miles I've done to complete this trail. And today was insane. We did right around 7,000 feet elevation gain and about the same down. And you add on the horrible weather, it rained on us for about the first 8 hours. And then when it stopped raining, the trees were drenched, so it was like raining from the trees. It was very cold periodically, depending on the side of the mountain, how it got windy and it got very cold, especially if we stopped for water. We started at 5 a.m. this morning, right on the dot, and we're gonna finish a little bit before 5:30. So that's pretty damn good. Almost 30 miles in a fraction over 12 miles. And if you saw, 12 hours. And if you saw the terrain we went over and how rough it was and how steep and our weather conditions, it was a good day, right?
It was a great day.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the day to finish the PCT.
Yeah.
Have a day like this. That's just in the box.
Yes. All right, let's get to the end here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby, yeah. Pacific Crest Trail down. Ooh. Fantastic. There, and okay. I didn't know that RV place. Oh yeah, they do.
Thank you.
You got one more spot. You got some stairways and an arch. That'll be the very, very.
All right, guys, that's about it for this series. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of love for the PCT. And if I can give you any advice at all, if you're not doing this already, get out there and live your life to the fullest. There's a lot to do out there and adventure, and tomorrow's not guaranteed. That's all I got for you. I'm out.